Cool, just mute that guy, because I don't think he's... All right, sweet. All right, nice one. Cool, so again, this week's been relatively slow for me, in my opinion. I only had 2 trades that actually went, well, I had 2 trades that won, but usually I'd get a few more, maybe get a loss here and there, but I had a drill that was a loss, which I'll go through in the end, and it was all the trades were within kind of this price action. It was the only thing I kind of managed to see. It's been a relatively busy week for me, so I didn't get too much time on the chart, but Wednesday I did get some time, which was fine. So I'm going to walk you through these trades now, and if you have any questions, then obviously feel free to let me know. If you haven't seen the announcements in both my Discord and Fredo's, make sure you go check them out after. And yeah, let's get into it. Right, so EU has been an interesting, what I'm going to do actually is just share my screen on EU. Let me just bring it to this Chrome tab, 1 second. Hold on. Cool, here we are. So where are we? Let's start here. So EU on Wednesday, which was 13th, which is over here. Overall, EU was relatively bullish, right? I mean, if you go on the H1, you can see very clearly here, externally on this time frame, we're trading upwards, right? And kind of like end of Wednesday on the 13th here, we failed to break this high after mitigation over here, and then we broke this low, right? And we haven't broken this low yet, but we're probably going to see something of the like next week. Probably won't see it today because, as you know, volume dies down at the end of Friday. But regardless of this, I was looking at the kind of internal relative to the external bullish structure here. And within this region, I was looking for a temporary short to take price down to here potentially, right? So this was the first trade. Oh, there you go. Can everyone see this entry point? I'm assuming everyone can see that. Cool. Right, sweet. So what we had was obviously prices trending up, and as you can see down here, I was looking for a sell at this region, right? And if you can see at the very bottom there, it says if this breaks, hold on. If this breaks, sorry, this is Zoom pen. If this breaks, sells valid, which is this region over here. Hold on. It was within here, right? And then price didn't break this low, as you can see over here. We failed to break, we mitigated, and we continued trading up, right? So because we didn't have this low broken, I thought, okay, cool, I'm going to stay out for now, and I'm going to wait for another short to anticipate. Now, I could have potentially taken a long going off here. Obviously, when this breaks, potentially find another long, say within there. See, on that point, I don't even know if that hit, but I could have looked for a long here. But overall, I was looking just for a kind of short-term sell based on the internal of the H1 bearishness here, right? That's what I was looking for. So I was looking for a sell there, but nothing really came about there. So like I said, I was waiting, and then what I'd seen is we had this break, CBOS, and then full break here, failed to break higher, failed to convert higher, and then we traded lower. Okay, so what I'd usually anticipate after something like this is a CBOS on this scale, high to low, trading upwards, mitigation of something, obviously that candle there, and then trading lower, right? We just mute the mics, please.
Come on, guys, mute them.
Thanks. So initially, after we saw this break here and then reaction down, I was anticipating a potential entry off of here. Now, the reason I didn't take it is because, see, this was broken and then this was broken here, but to me that isn't convincing enough. And as soon as we broke it, we had this strong reaction up here. So I was looking for a sell off of this candle to target this low, but I didn't. I felt that was slightly risky, and the only place I could have really had my stop in this instance would have been this high, and this was only about 1.2 pips off the top of my head, right? So to me, to risk 1% off of that wasn't kind of the best idea for me. So I wanted to wait and see, is there going to be a potential further confirmation, or am I just going to miss this trade? Because I'd rather miss the trade than potentially lose it and then it hits my target, right? Because I don't see this really as a true invalidation point. I'd say the true invalidation point was here, but because externally we are bullish, you know, this does have potential to go higher rather than come all the way down to this low here, right? So basically what I'm saying is if I entered right on this point, my stop would have had to been up here. If I was targeting this region, I would have had a negative R&R, which is something you just never want to do. And the kind of best realistic target after that would have been this low here. But like I said, H1, we are bullish, and this is a corrective move, and we've got an H1 POI here, so this does have the potential to go higher. If I'm targeting the lows, it just doesn't make sense on that basis, right? But anyway, what I saw afterwards was a grab of this high, or all of these highs, and a grab of that as well, filling the inefficiency within here. And well, I didn't mitigate that, but I did feel the inefficiency there. And then we had a very strong reaction after. And then during that, we had this formation of this candle, and then this candle and wick. And then we had order flow disruption here on a micro scale. Why? Because a POI was formed here, price pushed up, came down, mitigated, reacted, but failed to follow through and break this high, and then broke lower, and then broke the POI post reaction, right? So it's a failed POI, therefore I class that as OFD. And then the POI directly after is, like I said, this candle and this wick, and it was a 1 to 7.7. Again, usually I like to go for the 1 to 2s, but I do think this was a solid kind of entry point, and I could have targeted much lower, but I just didn't think it was worth doing because of the fact we are bullish on the external. And then price came in, and as you can see here, it didn't break the high, it tapped the high before reversing down, right? So you should never have your stop like at the same point as the high, because obviously you're going to get stopped, because that is a possibility that can happen, right? So stop is always a pipette or two above plus your spread. If you don't add the spread, then in an instance like this, you more than likely would have been stopped out. So that's why you always need to be conservative. It came very, very close to mine, but it failed to hit. And then the TP was hit over there, right? That was the first trade of the week. And then straight after, because I had already noticed that on the H1, the external, we are bullish, there is eventually going to come a time where this is going to stop falling lower, and I have to assume the continuation, right, on the external. One thing I was saying to someone was that when you're in a trending market, is that you always have to assume that price is going to continue until it doesn't, right? So if you ever think, oh, I'm going to try and pick a reversal here, and I think I'm going to try and swing this down to, say, over here, right? And just assume this is the external, say M15, M30, H1, right? You always have to assume it's going to continue until it doesn't. I think it's quite a good kind of saying to stick by. And here is the continuation trade. But here is obviously a reversal trade. But notice how my target, this target wasn't supposed to be down here. It's down here, by the way, over here. But notice how I didn't target this low down here, because I know for a fact externally this is bullish. Right? Now what we had was, just thin this pen a bit, is we had this high, low, high, low, CBOS of this, and then a continuation down, break of this low. So this would have been my new invalidation point if I was, say for example, I was still holding the trade, right? This would have been my new point of invalidation. I would have had my stop here as soon as this breaks, right? So I'm treating this as a point of this internal trend invalidation. So as soon as price breaks this low, we have pretty much instantaneous reaction up, we had a bit of stalling, and then price breaks the high, right? And when we break the high, we don't kind of directly come straight back down. We don't just shoot up. We have a kind of stalling nature, which is fine. You know, if I had a kind of like break and then a strong reaction down, I might not have been inclined to take that. But I'm using the invalidation rules in this instance to formulate this trade alongside with the external H1. Right? Hold on, give me 1 second. Because I don't use the seconds time frames, I tried to look at this from like an even more micro scale here. And the fact we've got a high, sorry, we've got a low, we've got a high, we've got a low, and then we've got a high here, right? And then this low being broken is a CBOS. Say if I go to say the 3 minute, this is just going to look like that. Whereas on say the M1 or the the 30 seconds or the 15 seconds, it's obviously going to look like this, right? Before going higher. So this being the CBOS, I'm confident with that. That's my entry. Micro stop, LG, BOS, and then BOS as well. After that, stops as being below those that low here, right? TP being at this SC, just because there is always a chance that we can have something like this occur before going lower. So I didn't want to take my chances of targeting the high. I'd rather just target the SE to be safe, know that I'm going to win that trade, and then be out. That's fine. And then what we had was this reaction. And as soon as price came down and broke this high, I moved the stop here. Okay, so if price comes down, I'm going to make about 0.8%. Hits TP, I'm going to make 2.8 or whatever it was. Right. And I closed out here just because we did skim the TP. And on my MT5, the TP was literally here and price had literally gone there and then came down and then came up and then came down. See, because we had a lower high here. Sorry, it's a bit thick. Because this high was higher than this high, there's potential that this could have been unwillingness. If this broke, then this could have potentially gone lower. So I just decided, right, I'm going to close out here. You know, I'm going to literally, I'm not going to risk the full trade for an extra 0.2%. It's not worth it. So I closed out there and it did end up hitting TP anyway, right? And then it reacted. I can't remember if this carried on going down. Oh no, it didn't actually. Right, so this is where the drill is. So this drill that I was running was, as you can see, I was trying to play like ping pong here, but because I'd already won 2 trades, I didn't want to jeopardize that by being greedy. So as you can see in live time, put drill, 35 seconds, this time 3:12. And again, it's the kind of same setup as here, right? If you look at this, we've got low, high, low, higher high, CBOS breaking this low, and then a reaction. And we've got low, high, low, high, CBOS, and then potential reaction here, right? Didn't see that. I was more kind of concerned with this. But again, this is where the kind of C more than R comes into play. You need to be really focusing on the continuations because that's when you're going to get more of your wins, as you all know within here, right? We had the CBOS there. So we had the mitigation of the SC. We had a reaction BOS, potential LG, break structure as well. So there is a potential that this could come down, but as you can see here, it was just a straight loss. And luckily I didn't take that. And I'm glad I didn't take that because that would have been forcing 3 trades within the space of an hour or 2 hours, whatever it was, you know, 1:45 to 3:15. Just wouldn't have been good to do. So I just didn't do that basically. But I left that kind of whole thing with about 3.5 R because on the sell, I didn't make 1.5 or 1.75, whatever it was. I risked a bit less than 1%, and that was just genuinely an error. I entered the lower lot size. To be honest, I didn't have enough time to calculate it on this one here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, on this one. I didn't have enough time to calculate because as you can see here, it broke and then kind of came up straight away. So I just did kind of a basic calculation of 3 pips plus spread. So it was about 3.4. And it just, yeah, I didn't make the full 1.77 here. I made about 1.something%, less than that. Same with here as well. It was about 2.8. So it was fine. Anyway, there are all those trades. Drill, lost, and that was that. Cool. Right, so this is GU. So last night, well, not last night, as you can see, it was in the evening, 3:09 in the afternoon, sorry. I'd identified that we had a H1 POI within here, right? And we had this kind of like micro range here for going higher. And this is unmitigated. So had inefficiency, and we had this wick breaking these lows before reacting higher. So granted, we're probably going to see some form of reaction. Are we going to see a follow through? Who knows? But this was my kind of outlook for yesterday. And then we did react. And then we came back down this morning. And then we traded down. We nearly broke it, but we did fail. But we had, just do high, low, high, low, high, unwillingness, break. So now within this and this range, red to red, CBOS, mitigation, reaction, and then we had the LG, well, yeah, LG, and then that'll be class LG once we break that structure point there. Right, so then we'd have low and high. And, pardon me again, sorry. We had this low, this high, price came down, grab that low, mitigated this inefficiency, grabbing that low, reaction, breaking this high. And annoyingly, what we had was a miss entry over here by 0.6 pips. And then it did end up hitting the TP. I'll just show you over here. We hit the TP, came down, traded up, traded down, and obviously we're just trading down ever since, right? So the TP was this high. Oh, I didn't take this entry, by the way, I just had it on the H1 POI. The CP was this high here. We broke that high, and we also broke the high on the left. And then we had a break of this low, failed to take that, break, failed to take that, break, CBOS, possible entry within here, but way too micro, and then a reaction down. So that was a bit annoying, but the thing is with that is the M2 I guess you could say gave the entry, but that is very annoying. I do think if we had a bit more room to come down within this inefficiency and this wick, that would have been great. I mean, this is a super valid invalidation point, in my opinion. Very violent reaction. BOS taking obviously the low here and mitigating a point. So it's a shame they didn't come down to where I wanted it to. 0.7 pips away. Was a shame.
Yo, go to M3 on that.
And what, sir?
M3. Yeah, that was your POI there.
This whole thing.
No, that bullish candle.
Yeah, the same as M2 then, really, isn't it? It's a shame, but oh well. Can't win them all. But yeah, it was a pretty slow week. I don't think the price action was good. Maybe because I was not super focused at the charts, but just looking at this, it wasn't massively nice. I didn't really see much. See just Bitcoin as well. Just to follow up on that, I do like to do a bit of a crypto touch, but I noticed we had this tap reaction and then break of the POI, so potential OFD there. I just don't know if I can even be bothered to kind of predict a bearish price. Maybe it's just me being pessimistic about the price, but I don't know. What I find interesting is that BTC has obviously made its all-time high, but we've got the likes of XRP, we've got the likes of all these other alts that haven't reached yet. So it could be a potential that we see a follow through to all-time highs maybe in the next few months. But if we see the old all-time high of BTC was made in November 2021, and XRP, the all-time high was made, well, the all-time high properly was made in the 1st of Jan 18, but the other one where it went to nearly $2, I think it's 1.97 off the top of my head. Yeah, pretty much 1.97, was made on April. So this one actually happened before BTC's all-time high. It hasn't anytime since. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that.
What's the internal?
But yeah, that was it for, huh?
What's the internal on that?
On XRP.
I don't know, man. That kind of vibe to me.
Potentially, it feels a bit criminal for me to buy at this price, but yeah, I guess I go H4 maybe. See that? Gee. We get a break of that and then go. Nice. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Very interesting.
Big area, right? Back to the day.
Yeah.
Get some transition inside here. And if this best bet, that'll be.
That'd be good. That's when they had that judge rule. The judge rule, XRP is not a security, but they're still within legal battles about the actual founders rather than the actual coin. But I don't know. Yeah, I think I still have hope for XRP. I mean, if you look at this total, it's bullish, but we'll just have to, I don't know. It's very different to how it was back in 2020.
I would say it's bullish. I just think,
Yeah.
for example, the bullish rally liquidity taken, and then give it an internal reaction. Then we withheld that. So
Yeah.
break.
Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah, that's it. That's really my outlook. These are the cryptos I'm looking at. We've got XRP, BTC, VeChain, Ethereum, LCX, Atom. Jasmine was funny enough. I found some crypto in an exchange. I found about £300 worth of crypto in an exchange. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to buy a crypto. And I found this one and I bought it right there, right? Hence why I have this line. I bought it right on this point and it went up and then it came back and I was like, oh, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to withdraw it because, you know, obviously it's very high and it could have came all the way down here. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to sell it, withdraw it. And then, I kid you not, like moments later, it just went up and it went up ever since and did about 100%. So that was a silly blunder on my end. And obviously it was just a tiny amount of money, but I just thought, you know, I'm not going to be bothered losing that if this all gets filled. A little bit silly there, but yeah. Anyway, I've not looked into this project, so I purely saw it on Coinbase, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just going to try and buy it. But yeah, anyway, we've got that. We've got AVT Aventus, QNT, and Corium. These are some good cryptos to look at. Do your own research on the actual projects. I'm not going to sit here and give a crypto lecture, but some are really good. Obviously, QNT's been a fan favorite for a long time. VET has been a favorite for a long time. XRP has obviously been a favorite for a long time. And yeah, never been a fan of ADA, so I know that's very popular, but I just don't believe in the project, so I'm not going to buy that. But yeah, these are what I'm looking at, and I do hope we get a lot more red days kind of before we get a big boost. But who knows? Anyway, that's my session done. Fredo, if you want to take it away.
I did run some drills today. I didn't trade. We'll get back into those after we go over what we have to go over. I do want to start off with the Discord announcement. Let me just share that really quick. Right, in case you haven't read it, it's just kind of just a small announcement saying that Alex and I, our Discords are going to merge, the groups are going to merge, everything is just going to be under one umbrella, and there is pretty much zero downside to the community. I would just say that you just have like a solid amount of people just come in and add to what we already have. I'm going to focus on uploading his content onto the RCV website. That might take a while, but it'll be done hopefully within the next week. And then Alex has some more content as well that he wants to make, and we'll make sure to add that to the website as well. So that's just all for you guys. And outside of that, we do have some fund updates. I know you guys know that I don't really mention that stuff to you guys, but mainly because I wanted to get some stuff in the back end ready before we even considered showing you guys what it is, what it does, etc. So we've been working on that for the past couple of weeks, and we have some cool updates to show you all over the next quarter, I would say. So that's that. Okay, back to this. Just like Alex, it was a bit of a, I'm not going to say weird week, but a bit of a slow week. I didn't trade that big news move that occurred. I believe it was Wednesday. Yeah, I believe it was Wednesday. Most of my positions were on, I believe, Tuesday, or let me actually, that big news move. Actually, that was Thursday. That was yesterday. Sorry. I didn't trade Tuesday. I traded Wednesday, and I didn't trade Thursday. But when it came to my executions this week, something I have been focusing a lot on, especially when it comes to judging, where I want my targets to be. I kind of like to reference my minor intraday. If I'm scalping, obviously, I like to measure what my minor intraday is doing. Like obviously, let's say my minor intraday is bullish, then let's say we are here in a minor intraday stance. Then internally, I'm just looking for a scalp continuation so that I can complete the A, B, C, D leg, if that makes sense. So that's just something that I always like to reference. And I actually saw that in one of Alex's trades. I didn't bring it up, but there was I think it was his first OFD trade where he thought the first POI that he would use would be considered a bit too aggressive, and that's because it was solely because he wanted to anticipate the potential LG, and this will more than likely not work because this is still bullish. There is a bullish leg, and the bullish target has not been met yet. So once that is met, created OFD, and that's what created his scenario. So that's kind of something I've been focusing on over the past week or so. And this AU is actually a very good representation of that. What I was looking for here is I was looking at the previous bullish move, but more importantly, I noticed a bullish reaction, right, causing a higher low. That higher low, right, then leads to an internal potential LGC, and I'm aiming for an external high. I'm going to show you guys that external high after the result is shown. And unfortunately, this one missed my entry by literally 1 pipette. And I almost re-entered. My re-entry was going to be right after this missed my reaction. Then we created a new high. Then I was potentially looking at the micro continuation where I would put my entry and potentially my SL here. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to chase the trade. And that would have still been like a 1 to 3-ish. But by 1 pipette, I didn't get this trade. But I'm just happy that the result was correct and that the analysis was correct as well. And this is the external view. So this is kind of what I'm referring to, where from the minor intraday, disregarding this completely, I don't care. Like I don't really care about the external, or the external of the external, I'll say. I look at what my minor intraday is doing: bullish, higher low, bullish, internal, higher low. So I'm looking for the transition so that I could aim for the external target. So the analysis was correct. I just missed my entry by a literal pipette. So that could have been pretty much, that would have made my entire week, if I'm being honest, just because other than that, I did take a loss and there were some more unfortunate scenarios that occurred. Next was my GU scenario, where I was looking to take the sweep of liquidity from here and here, right? The external high has been taken, and potentially we are seeing some type of structural disruption internally where I can argue that there's a solidified point, low, high, there's obviously a retracement, there's a reaction based on that break. That leads to a bearish break of structure, which confirms a potential sweep based on the external high. And I was looking to take this right into the downside. And the result of this one, it almost hit my stop loss, did not hit my stop loss. But from there, we did lead into, or we did create a type of LGC pattern where we got the bearish reaction, right? We have a CBOS and then a CBOS after that, leading into or creating a LGC pattern. After the LGC pattern, that for me, because we have a solidified point creating a new low, this is my trailed invalidation. So I am now in profit no matter what happens, right? And from there, right, it ended up hitting my trailed invalidation. In terms of the reasoning why this could have happened, right, based on what I reviewed, was the fact that yes, we had taken out the bullish liquidity, but the internal structure was bullish. And I could argue that this is the final sell to buy move, which led into that break of structure. So this is an external POI, and that was in play. So I could have used this POI as a potential move to tackle at least these relative equal highs. So a learning opportunity, but still got to profit a bit less than 1R from this. Right, and then EURUSD, I was kind of trying to anticipate the continuation here as well, where we had, we had a bullish structure into the upside, right? And we had a CBOS in play, meaning the internal is bearish. So we have a high, low, high, low. That high is then broken. So I was anticipating this to kind of just give me mitigation into the previous high. From the previous high, or from that scenario, we actually got a reaction from it. The reaction was technically valid. So if I really wanted to, I could have moved my invalidation here after that move, but I didn't want to be too picky with that. But in hindsight, I probably could have done that and I would have avoided, you know, a big chunk of that loss. Right. So once I saw the shakeout come into play, there was a shakeout here with a low, and then we took out a new high. So I knew that this POI was going to be the breaking point. Either from here, we're going to give the move that I want, or it's going to fail completely. And it failed completely. That's why I was able to move my invalidation to about a 0.8 R loss. Right, and the POI was actually valid, right, based on the reaction, but that reaction does not always signify a follow through, leading into the failed scenario. So this was my loss of the week. Right, and then after that, right, the what I had concluded based on off that loss, which was what the loss that occurred here, right, was that there was a bullish POI sitting right behind or right below, right, a previous low. So after we had taken the liquidity, I had also acknowledged that this was a high momentum move. So obviously bearishness is in control, but you can clearly see that there is some type of reaction here, right? I see that there is a potential point of interest. There is a reaction in play. Once the reaction is occurred and that breaks through, then I consider that to be a type of order flow disruption. Once the order flow disruption is in play, right, we kind of want to play based on, right, the buy scenario into the upside. And this was another one of those unfortunate scenarios that I'm talking about with here, because we came back into the turbulence point. We gave a perfect reaction into the upside, right? And right, I did not move my invalidation. I don't like to move it until we have the CBOS continuation. So there was no CBOS here, but there was a CBOS continuation here. So that means that my invalidation was there, and I had missed my TP by a literal pip. I mean, by 2 pipettes. Sorry, 2 pipettes. Right, and usually, you guys know that the rule, a big rule that I really emphasize on, or that I have emphasized on, is that once we're about to reach our TP, I like to just use the immediate low as my trailing invalidation, just because I don't want a scenario like this where I am very close to my TP and then it just comes and takes out the external low or potentially breaks me even, right? Because then, yes, I may not lose any money, but I lost this entire time, and I also lost the concentration required to even find and take this trade. So by the time it was here, I was very, very confident. I'm like, you know what, this is going to hit TP. I'm not worried at all. We are externally bullish, internally bullish. It makes no sense not to go for this high, right? And although we never did reach the break even, this actually did end up just being an external CBOS, meaning low, high, retracement, and then it ended up going. So a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm not going to switch up my rules just off of one bad week, one bad day. So it is what it is. The only reflection I could have taken from this is that I should have trailed my stop to here, because like I said, once we're close to that TP, I want to make sure that I get I pretty much squeeze out as much profit as I can. So that was unfortunate. Right, and that was it for today. Gonna come back to this. I want to review my drills for today. Let me see if I can send the befores. So who is that? Yo, hold on. Who is that? Guys, please mute your mics. Please mute your mics. The big pet peeve. So I had ran 3 drills today, which is pretty much on all of my pairs. All of them did the exact same thing. 1, 2, and 3. Let's actually pull up Discord. Okay, so my first scenario, very, very simple. We are externally bearish, right? I see equal highs has been swept. And we had a very big impulsive engulfing candle here. Excuse me. And from the engulfing candle, I'm kind of just anticipating this to continue lower. Same thing here with EU, where we had relative equal highs be taken. Right from there, we had disruption occur, and although that the disruption is technically the beginning or a CBOS, I waited for the internal reaction because this is still technically bullish, although this is still potentially a liquidity sweep. The internal here is bullish, so I waited for the structural disruption to come into play, and I'm trying to take this into a previous low. And the final scenario being GU, this was the drill that I ran, was after a liquidity grab continuation here, we had a POI be present, but from there, we had a mitigation and an engulfing, and I'm looking for the continuation to the downside. So not the prettiest, but still falls under rules. And from there, how these are doing. So yeah, we start with EU. We're already here. It was on the M10 time frame, right? As we said, my target was at the previous low. This is kind of playing out relatively nice. I didn't manage this at all, so maybe my management wouldn't have helped me out here. But in terms of looking for a reason to move my stop loss here or my invalidation point, it's a bit complicated because, like I said, the external is still technically bullish and there is a bullish POI in play. So until we have the order flow disruption, okay, now I can move my invalidation, but my invalidation is right around where my previous SL is, so it doesn't really change there. So I kind of just want to see if this liquidity grab is going to give us a movement to the upside. So I would say that if I was to be a bit aggressive, I would look into this solidified point, use this as my invalidation because there is still potentially a POI here to potentially go lower. So gonna have to wait and see how that plays out. AU, this one, right? This one might, let me actually. Right, my target was down here. Really though, I could have forced my TP to be at the first external low, which is here, and that was swept because it looks like now this is going to be taken. So once this is taken, I'm looking at the solidified point that brought us to the downside. So my invalidation is more than likely getting hit right now. That would have totaled out for about, right, rather than the full 1 to 3.4, right, about a 0.6R profit just based on the invalidation being met right now. And how is the last one doing? This one, okay, this one actually hit take profit. Very nice. This one, right, I was aiming for this solidified point. Why? Because there's a solidified point. So I don't know if potentially there could be a type of point of interest here where we could come in and start reacting. That's why I'm aiming for the previous low, as y'all saw in the previous or in the before that I showed you all. So this one target was met, 2.86R, very nice. Obviously I didn't take it, it's just a drill, but it's good to see the analysis play out. So overall, on paper, it wasn't really the best week in terms of that one trade that missed by a pipette and I missed out on like 3R. Two, there was the one that trailed, or the one that missed TP by 2 pipettes, and then it came and hit my trailing invalidation. So on paper wasn't the best week, but a lot of my analysis did play out, so I consider that to be a win. But other than that, the last thing I want to talk about today is I believe like a couple of weeks ago I showed you all the first table of contents for the ebook that I'm making. Like I told you guys, rather than making a whole new course, I'd rather just make an ebook, have everything on there. It's way faster to make than videos, and it's less tedious. So this is kind of where we're at now. The full table of contents is done. I have all of the words done. Now it's just a matter of adding diagrams and creating the actual template for the ebook. So I want you guys to look into this. I'm going to probably send a copy of this into the group, but this is kind of what's to come. First things first, the introduction section, which is kind of just, I would say, just as it's written, it's the introduction. I wouldn't say there's too much here. It's just kind of laying the foundation. And then the first unit is the psychology class. I kind of wanted to make that the first one, just because I went from psychology to risk management, then into the trading systems. Not because one is more important than the other. I just think this is the best order in terms of framing the mind of the trader. And with my psychology class, I start off with expectations, and then I get into a couple of mental models, and in between, just a couple of things to fill in the gaps. Next is my risk management class. All right, there's a ton of stuff here. Market structure, a lot of stuff that's in the course, plus emphasizing on a couple of things that we have added and added definitions, and going to add examples as well. Next, the order flow, which is all the concepts that we use. All right, and finally, trading models, which is everything from your derivative to trading plans to trading models to back testing, stress testing, etc. So if you guys want to quickly read this, let me know what you guys think. And other than that, that's kind of everything I have for today, unless you guys have some questions, concerns, or case studies to go through. If the external is bullish, that's very subjective, bro. It's very subjective, because it just depends. One, what kind of trader are you? What kind of trader are you looking for? And are you talking about the immediate external? Or are you talking about the external of the external? I don't know which one you would be talking about. Okay, which scenario are you talking about? Okay. Scenario are you talking about? Which scenario are we talking about here? Or which trade, sorry. Thank you. Oh, the recent drill, okay. Here. No, I would not play a buy scenario here ever, at all. Because I'm going for the continuation. Never. I would never ever play the buy scenario here. Like this POI here that you're referencing, never. Because this is trying to pick a low. I'm assuming that this is the low of the external trend. No. Yeah, like for example, a typical mistake I would see in this type of scenario is they would consider the CBOS to be a full break of structure to the upside, and from there they're looking at a POI, and then from here they're obviously looking for a reaction, which I can 100% justify based on a potential structural disruption internally. So I could definitely see somebody trying to buy here, but it's just the model, right? Remember the DLE approach, right? The 3-step framework, right? Direction, liquidity, execution, right? Direction is bearish, right? Liquidity has been swept, which means bullish liquidity has been swept. So I'm looking for the bearish scenario, right? If I'm only looking for, let's say, this buy here based on the internal order flow, then I'm kind of disregarding the direction. Because liquidity is taken everywhere. It's taken everywhere. But the question to ask is, which sweep of liquidity is going to benefit me the most? And that's why I have direction as the #1 thing. Because if I know that we are bearish, then if I can justify, right, any type of transition towards bearishness, then I'm going to take it, because C over R. Yeah, I call it the 3-step framework. That's what I call it. And that's also going to be a part of the ebook. Like, literally, the ebook is everything that we talk about, everything that we use, everything that we have used up until today. Pretty much. It's everything is going to be on here. So I'm going to send this in the group. And if you guys want to read through it, let me know. Give me any feedback. I probably won't add much more stuff. Like, I've kind of bulletproof this. Like, I've had a couple of guys fully go through this, and I've probably made like 5 different versions of this. So this is kind of like the final one that I really like. But other than that, does anybody have any questions, any case studies they want to go through? Yeah, sure. I'm hoping to have it fully done by the beginning of the summer. So yeah, it's just a matter of me just locking in and getting this work done, because it is very tedious. But I will say it's not as tedious as making course videos. So grateful for that. But yeah, in summary, a couple of good things coming. The fund announcements are coming soon, right? We have the merger of the groups, so it should increase the activity within the group. And from what I've seen, everybody in Alex's chat is relatively on the same wavelength as everybody that's in the RCV chat. So I don't see any problems with those coming together. And then the ebook will also be coming relatively soon. So other than that, let me know if you guys have any questions. Send me journals. I'll go through those probably tomorrow. But other than that, I'll probably see you guys in the next one.